All right. Just getting everything set up here. We get Josh in, and we'll start the live stream soon. All right. Just to give everyone a rundown here. For next week, we have Spike Polite of Sewage. Lord's House, what's up? Thanks for joining. Punk Rock out of New York City. So we'll have him on, and we'll get Sean in here, our bass player as well. Rasputin's Dick, what's up? Thanks for joining. We'll have our guest on in a minute here. Just to let everyone know, we are also have just released our first single on all the streaming platforms, so you can go check out that link in our bio. And let's see if we can get him in here. And there he is. Of course, my camera gets wonky. Josh, what's up, man? Yep.
Hey, what's up?
Just
You
trying
can
to
hear
set
me?
this camera back up so you can see me. How's it going?
Cool.
All right, cool.
I'm eating.
That's the first for the live stream, yeah.
Yeah?
Of course, not my camera. Yeah, that's what I
People
heard.
like watching.
What's it called?
That's all the
Mukbang?
demographics say.
I don't know. Is that what it's called? I don't even know.
I have no idea. I'm just agreeing with you.
Oh my god.
Well, it's
Of
just.
course, now I set my camera up and now it won't work.
Oh, my dog's right.
All right, we're just gonna go handheld for right now. All right,
I just had. I just got back from band.
All right.
We had band practice, and so
Awesome.
that's why.
How long do you usually practice for? Kids come with. Thanks for joining.
That's Allison. She's singing.
Awesome.
With like some. We're doing a performance at. She's singing with Fictional name. We're doing a performance at Banana Factory next first Friday.
Yep.
No, March
All right, I was
first
gonna ask you
Friday.
about that too.
Next month. So that's we're trying to learn a lot of covers.
Sure,
Can
if
you
want
myself,
to.
if
Mackie
I'm
Matt, what's
coughing?
up? Thanks for joining. Let me quick run down this intro and then we'll get started. What are you drinking? Pepsi or Coke? Oh, all right.
Yeah, it's Coke Zero.
Never tried it.
Gotta watch the
All
calories.
right, let me get this started here and then we'll get right into it. All right, hello and welcome to the Bellwether Ritual live stream where we discuss local Lehigh Valley, PA music scene, bands, social media, marketing, and much more. Today is Wednesday, February 1st already. I hope everyone had a good week so far and enjoyed January because it is already all over. My name is Mike. I am the vocalist and guitarist of the band Bellwether Ritual, and we are finally streaming on all the streaming platforms. So you can check out our first single, Neck and Neck, on Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music, all that stuff. Links in the bio. And this week we have Mr. Josh Burke of Fictional Name. And Josh also works at the Bethlehem Public Library, where he is responsible for building, I'm not sure, we'll have to get into this a little bit more, but I think the only recording studio in a library that I can even think of in the basement of the library, and that's called Studio 11. And he also puts on a yearly festival called 11 Fest that supports Studio 11, and we'll talk about all that and more. Josh, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Awesome.
Hey, what's up? I'm doing good.
Thank you for joining. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to apologize for eating because we were practicing today and it went a little long, like it always does, right? Once you start making music,
yeah,
totally lose track of time. So I was like rushing, and also I know if I don't eat something, I get like really dumb. I mean, always a little dumb.
Well, I
get
appreciate
like really
you being
dumb.
sharp for the stream here. Thank you. lost your audio there. Daryl, thanks for joining. All right, cool. No, it's okay. How
Oh,
long do you
sorry.
usually like? Do you have a rehearsal day that you guys stick to every week, or how's that go?
No, we have like our band is a interesting mix of people at different
Yeah.
like stages in their life and different like life circumstances. So like I'm by like I'm 46 years old.
Me too.
I'm old, and my buddy Brian, who plays guitar, is the same age as me. He plays with Fictional name,
Oh,
but he's also a
awesome.
pilot. He's a professional pilot, so he literally can be anywhere in the world at any given time. He has a job where it's like, on heavy and then off sometimes. So he's just sort of like he's like the fifth member of the band when he's around, and like we're all just like old enough that it's just like, when you can come, you come, and we make music, and when you're not, like if we gig without him, he doesn't care. Like no one's like feelings are hurt. Like we're all old enough to just be like, we squeeze it in when we can around. And he's got 3 kids. I have 2 kids. And then Tom is the other guitarist and sings a lot of our songs. Tom Janis, he's like in his 30s. And then Sam, our drummer, is in his 20s. And then Karis, our other singer, is a teenager. So she's in college. And hey,
Cool.
I was just talking about
Thanks
Brian.
for joining.
That's who popped up. I see him there. So Brian's joining from somewhere far away around the world. I know it. And and Karis, our singer, she's a student at Dickinson in the middle of the state. So it's always crazy. Like whenever we can get around to recording, rehearsing, gigging, it's amazing that we do it as much as we do because everyone has like crazy schedules. So we don't really have a set day. We do take advantage of the library a lot as a place to play, which is nice for me because I'm already there. And then they come, and Tom lives right down the road, and then they come in. I feel like I need to explain my beard to people who know me well because I normally have a super white beard, and it's like been dyed, which is not something I would normally do. But I know like, no one's judging, but like people who know me are like, why does Josh look slightly weird right now? And it's because Violet, my daughter, dyed my beard. So she's wanted to dye my beard for the longest time because I look super old all the time. And one of her friends asked her if I was her grandfather, and I think it like offended her. So I mean, I'm 46 years old, but I've been gray since I'm like in my 20s because just my genetics and anxiety. So I've just been like, I think the worry makes you go gray faster. It's like a true thing. So, anyway, she really wanted to dye her beard, so she just did.
Fantastic dye job.
Like a completely different color than
Kudos.
Different color
Benjamin
than my
David
hair, so.
Orr, thank you for joining.
He runs that Lehigh Valley Arts podcast.
Cool.
Is a cool guy. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's I guess let me start from the beginning here. I don't even know, are you from the area originally or did you move in?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Cool, me too.
I'm from Bethlehem.
Oh, all right.
I went to Freedom High School.
So I guess we have to bring up the fact that we're mortal enemies because I went to Liberty. But
well, my kids go to Liberty. My daughter's going. Okay, cool. I live in Liberty territory now, so I've made peace with it. And I coached his basketball at the Little Canes for the longest time, so I've made peace with being a Cane. So
it's good to be open-minded and flexible. Okay, cool. So, have you been like playing music your whole life? Did you get into it at a certain age? Like, how'd that come about?
I was in like I started making music when I was in high school, and I had really no idea what I was doing. I still barely do, to be honest. Like, I definitely did not then. And I just knew I wanted to be in a band because I just liked the idea of being in a band. And my friends and I would just like make up stuff we would do if we were in a band. Like we would just like write kind of like we'd like make up band names and like band logos and like write songs and stuff. We had no idea how to play any instruments. And then eventually I met some people who could play, and all I could do was like scream. So I was just like yelling a bunch. And then when I went to college, I started playing guitar, and I was in a band with my friends. I met some really cool musicians. I went to Drew University in New Jersey. I was a small school, but like I met some really like-minded people, some really talented, and also just like funny dudes and women. And we had like we just had a number of cool bands that just like, I mean, we weren't like, again, like I started performing on guitar like before I knew how to play really at all. I just like wanted to be up there, so I really rushed it. And but the other people in that band were a little more accomplished or just hilarious and entertaining performers. So we put on a bunch of shows and stuff. And then when I came back after college, played in bands on and off. Usually like, you know, like loud, screamy bands with my friends. And then at some point got a little more serious about learning to play an instrument. So I actually took classical guitar for a little while. I went to New Orleans on a trip, and I decided I wanted to learn how to play jazz. And then I looked up at a teacher. My mom worked at Raven College at the time, and she recommended John Arnold, who's a musician. Yeah. He's a really well-known classical guitarist in the area. Yeah, he's always around. He's one of those like virtuoso classical guys, and he also teaches jazz. So he was kind of like teaching me. He was like, we got to learn the kind of classical, read sheet music, and learn the positioning and hand stuff to like play classical, and then we'll do the jazz stuff. And I just like never. It was like kind of too much at once, so I just never got to the jazz stuff. But I got like halfway decent at classical guitar, and then kind of put that away for a while. And then I had kids and stuff, and still play music here and there with my friends. And then once the kids got a little older, I sort of like felt like I could do it a little more and like, you know, play. It really kind of fell in my lap though. Fictional name did like, well, Tom always, I literally pretended to be a bass player. Like I really wasn't. I really never played bass. I owned a bass because my buddy at my old house, like in the 90s, like had a metal band, and then their bass player disappeared.
They often do,
kind of Spinal Tap situation where he just disappeared. And then my buddy Rich moved out, and then the bass just stayed in the house. So I was like, I guess I have a bass now, and I would just play around with it every once in a while. That's still the bass I play. It's like it's from 1980. It's like a 43-year-old it's like a Electra, which is like a Fender copy. Yeah. They got sued for like they copied the Fender so well. Yeah, they got like a lot of lawsuits. But I learned all that obviously way later. I just thought it was just a cool instrument to have. But then once we started doing Studio 11, like right when we were about to launch it, we weren't totally done. We weren't taking like signups yet. Like it was just in the works. And then I got an email from this guy, and he was like, I'm working on, ever hear of like they call it RPM? It's like the month of February.
Oh,
try
yes.
to write a
it's
record
been a while since that's gone around, but yeah, I do remember that.
I learned about it from like Bob Boylan on NPR, All Songs Considered. Bob talks about it, but and he does it every year with his buddies. But yeah, so I got an email from Tom, and he said who I didn't know at all at the time, and he's like, "Oh, I'm really trying to finish this album by the end of February for this RPM challenge." He's like, "I know the studio doesn't open officially until March, but is there any chance I can get in there because I want to play drums and I live in my apartment and I can't really play drums in it?" And I was just kind of ready to open up the studio anyway. And his email address, it was like, well, he works in Muhlenberg at the college, and like this sounds kind of like judgmental, but like I was like, well, he's probably not like gonna. I thought it was like a professor, you know. I was like, he's probably not gonna like wreck the place. Like he's probably like, because I was very nervous about like letting people use it. We had just finally like, and it wasn't totally set up yet. We hadn't really done inventory properly or have locks on stuff. I was like, I gotta trust this guy. You know, we still kind of trust people, but especially then the first time, I was like, I'm like, well, he's a professor. He's probably not gonna be like a raging like maniac who's gonna like break the stuff in the studio and steal things. And so I was like, yeah, you can come in and test it out. I was like, just so you know, like I was like, you can kind of do us the favor of like checking things out and like running through a record and like, and let us know what works and what doesn't work. And then I was like, just let me like send me something when you're done. I was like, are you in a band? And he's like, no, I just am doing this like thing by myself. I'm playing all the instruments. And then I was like, so I still get super excited every time anyone records anything in there. I'm always like, I'm like the dad of the studio. I'm just like, so proud of everyone. Like whatever they come up with. I listened to your stuff. I was so pumped. That video you made was awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing the next release of it. And I'm so like I love seeing that video of you down there rocking out. And but yeah, so then Tom sent me some of the stuff that he worked on, and I was like, and I just immediately loved it. Like it was not exactly the kind of music I've done, but it was very much like the kind of music I've always been a fan of, which is like which is kind of like a little like mellower and like a little more melodic than some of like the real like screamy bands I've been part of. Like his voice reminds me of like Jay Mascis a little bit from Dinosaur, and like his guitar playing too is like can be really like pretty or like really noisy, and I just really liked it. I've never really been in a band quite like that, but I was like I always listen to that kind of stuff, and so I just said to him, I was like, oh, if you ever like, because I asked, if you were in a band or whatever, he's like, no, I just play all the instruments, and I was like, if you ever needed a bass player, because obviously he was a guitarist, I was like, and he was obviously way better than me at guitar, so I was like, if you ever needed a bass player, I was like, let's jam sometime. I was like, I'm just gonna. And he's like, oh, you're a bass player. And I was like, yeah. I totally wasn't. I completely lied. I just wanted to be in Tom's band. And like, and then the first time we played together, we really clicked. And like, we
there
really,
he is. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Tom's watching the video.
And thanks for following Kids Come With. I
was just telling the story. Yeah. I was just telling Tom about how I was just telling Mike about how I lied to be in Tom's band. So, but when we first got together and started playing music, we really did click. We really like I don't know why I always tell a story. It makes me seem like an insane person, but I don't mind. I thought Tom's music was awesome and I wanted to be part of it. I'm not ashamed of that. And we really did click, and we immediately started writing stuff together. We had this super long text thread where we would just send band names back and forth.
Yeah.
Like the full card, just to like establish our framework, like just, and whatever weird band I mentioned, Tom was like, oh yeah, I like them. Like no matter how weird, like however weird it got. And whether it was like, kind of like art, like we both like the noisy bands like Sonic Youth, or like I mentioned Dinosaur Jr. We also both like Elliott Smith, and like kind of like I just call them like sad sack guitar songwriters. I like love that stuff. I always have, but I've never like really been in a band to play anything that like heartfelt. I was like I played acoustic music in the past, but it was always like kind of like joke songs. That kind of like Tenacious D song like style. I would just write like ridiculous like silly acoustic songs. But I was like at a point in my life where I was like, I don't know, I think I can like write more heartfelt kind of stuff. And I've always been a writer. I wrote like a ton of like bad poetry when I was young, and I became an author. Then I published a bunch of books for kids and teens. Yeah, that's my other like main like sort of piece of the thing that keeps me busy. Like I published 6 books for kids and teens. So but I've always like been a writer kind of first, and Tom is very, like Tom's a good lyricist, but he's also like the kind of person, but Tom's also the kind of person where he really thinks sonically, like he'll like come up with a melody and just sort of hum it and sort of make word like noises, and I'm the kind of person who I just write like without any music, especially like it's very often that I can't sleep. I have like a lot of insomnia, and I do a lot of just middle of the night, like kind of like automatic writing, I call it. Like I don't even like really think about what I'm writing, but usually it'll be more poetic than prose. Like it'll usually have some sort of rhythm, And so I just write these like long verses of like just I don't know why, just sort of like obsessively almost, compulsively, and also just because I like it and whatever. So I had all these lyrics, like just tons of lyrics that didn't have any music. And then so then like Tom would make like in the beginning he would like record something on his, he'd play guitar just into his phone or whatever, send me a track, and I would like just scroll through my giant weird file of like 1,000 pages of lyrics and like find something that fit with the rhythm of the song. And then I would send it to him, and he was like, oh, it fits, or he would tweak it, he would change it, he would like add something else. And then we wrote a couple of our we call them hits.
That's a good idea.
You're in a band, like all your songs are hits. But like the songs we've been playing the longest, like we had a couple songs that like we've written that never really made their way into the set. There's awesome. A few we always play, so we call those the hits. But like we wrote a couple of those hits like really early, and we wrote this song called "Pretty Good Day." Tom wrote the guitar riff, totally independent of my lyrics. I had written all the lyrics totally separately, and it started because I was texting my wife about my healthy eating plans, and I said I had a pretty good day and a pretty bad night. So it was like, because I just eat cookies in the middle of the night all the time, and like it's not. But that was like, that's kind of a funny lyric, so I wrote it, and it became it's like kind of a depressing song, but also has some hope in it. But it says like I had a pretty good day and a pretty bad night, and I'm running out of time to make things right. And it says like there's a lot of time left, I just don't have it. There's a lot of ways to live. Mine's a bad habit. And so when people hear it, some people think it's like about addiction or something. And I'm like, it kind of is. Like, it's about trying to get your shit together and failing at it. So whatever that is.
The talent
but anyway,
being vague enough that people can insert themselves in there. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like I remember when we first showed that song to Karis, she asked me if it was about addiction. And I was like, it's kind of about Oreos. and she was like, yeah, it's all. She's like, it's all part of the human condition. I was like, you're a very wise high school student. And but also, that's true. Like, I like to write stuff that people can take different ways. And then Tom definitely would like tweak the lyrics and change it to be something that would like one of our other early hits is this song called "Run Out," and I wrote a lyric that says like something like our hearts were a workshop, where like and something about our like wires were crossed, like about like a physical like workshop where you're like trying to wire something. And Tom changed it to like, because he works at a college, I think it's like our heart was a workshop where people never talked. More like an academic workshop where everyone's silent. And I was like, that's a funnier lyric anyway, because that is what a bad relationship feels like. Like I'd been a professor too, and like no one talking in the workshop is awful. So yeah, it's a long hour. The time stops. So we just really clicked, and we just kept writing stuff. And he brought some songs like fully formed, and I would just try to add something interesting on bass, something like that wasn't just like following along the route, like just doubling the guitar, but something that would like add a little bit of counter melody or harmony or just another different line that would kind of work with it. And I wasn't really like a accomplished mix player, but I had been playing guitar long enough that I could kind of like add a part. And then I really practiced. I really like wanted to get good, so I really like
that's where it's
tried to like hammer these songs down. And again, and then just listen to different kinds of bands. Like started listening to more like, I don't know, when I was younger, like I really hated like hippie music. Like I was like really like, because I was a child of the 90s, and I was like, and like anything that was my parents' music, I thought like sucked. Like I just hated it. Like I was like, they're cool, and they like liked cool music, but I did not ever want to listen to it. But as I'm older now, I'm like listen to more like just like this Grateful Dead or like stuff like that. Like I refused to listen to it when I was younger because I was such like a wise ass like punk rock kid. But I've been listening to a lot more of that stuff and like learning how those guys like what the bass does in particular, and like what you can add to a song. So I've been I've been working on that stuff, and then me and Tom also would like a lot of times we write like one lyric at a time.
Do you
We
go
would
back
just
and
like sort of
forth?
play the songwriting game
Oh,
where
yeah,
I would
yeah.
just like text
Yeah,
him a
cool.
lyric. Yeah, one line. Yeah, sort of like yeah, like it's almost like a game. Like, and I would write a line and I just like, do you think it's something that rhymes with it? And a lot of times he would like take it in places that like
That's
that I
the
never
best,
thought
yeah.
about. Yeah, we have the one song called Tennessee. That's like one of our hits. And I had a dream. I had a dream about driving to Seattle to meet an ex-girlfriend, which like I don't have an ex-girlfriend in Seattle, and I've been married for 25 years, so it's like I don't know what, like whatever. My dreams are
Oh,
weird
okay.
though. I have like a lot of weird sleep issues, and I have a lot of like strict and stuff, and like I said, like insomnia all the time too. But I had this dream about driving to Seattle to like meet an ex-girlfriend, and so I woke up and I wrote it like I drove to Seattle just to see if you're around. That was like the lyric. And then I changed it to Tennessee because it sounded like it had internal rhyme. So I just wrote that to Tom. I just wrote, I drove to Tennessee to see if you're around. And then he wrote back, I couldn't see the image on the ultrasound, which is like an unexpected rhyme for if you're around. And also I was like, wow, now
Yeah.
this song is a story. Like now this song is like a country about a dude driving down to see the mother of his unborn child. And like they're having some feelings about it. So it became that just from those two lines, the song became a cool story. So yeah, our songs come from like unexpected places like that, and a lot of collaboration. Sam, who's our drummer, is a really creative drummer, a really creative person, and he takes the songs in places we never expected. Also, we're super lucky to find him. He was one of the first. I also met Sam through the recording studio at the library. He was one of our early cool. Sound engineers. Like Sam's Sam's like a Sam was a I told my buddy Bill, I was like, is live streaming always naked? I was like, I think that's what live streaming means, but I'm like not
we'll get there.
knowledgeable with the internet.
We'll get there.
But when I hear the word live stream, I thought, yeah, we'll get there, Bill. I'm only halfway through my first Coke Zero. After a while, things get crazy. And then, so Sam was one of he was working, Sam has a degree in audio engineering, but he was working in a job field, and he just kind of missed it. And when he heard about the studio, he was like, I just want to help. Like, what can I do to help? Which is, we've had so many people like that, like really generous people. But Sam was one of the very first. We used to have like these sessions called Jam with Sam, where it was just like an open studio, and he would show people how to use the board, or he would play drums for them, or like whatever they wanted, but just to like introduce people to the studio and the engineering and recording process. But then I think he was doing that for a while before he mentioned that he was a drummer. And then at some point we just started playing because he was down there, and I think we were just waiting for other people to come, and I just plugged in the guitar, and we just it was awesome. Like he's such a like talented drummer, but he's also like he's a very good listener, which like not every musician always necessarily is, right? So like he'll really hear what you're doing and then try to add to it rather than take over it. So yeah. So then me and him and Tom were really like that was Fictional name for a while, like the three of us, just doing like trio kind of, I don't know, I want to say power pop. We also, I don't know, and some of it's like kind of grungy, some of it's kind of like, some of the songs have like, they do have like kind of like Wilco vibes, or like sound a little of like a country music in that sort of by way of like indie rock or whatever. So
genre defining. That's for other people, right?
And then
just play the music, and everyone else will figure that part out.
I know it's impossible to do. Well, we always say we're an indie rock band, but the indie stands for indecisive. That's like that's like our running joke. But we really are, though. We really do.
That's
like
always the hard part, is like picking that direction and where you want to go. I know you guys have a show coming up. I just want to quickly plug that for you, right?
Yeah. So we have a show at the end of this month.
Yeah, I've never
at the
there
Flying V, which is the Oh man, I've never been there either. They've been having bands, and
Oh,
Tom
no
is
shit.
from Canada. So
Yeah.
when we saw that there were like indie rock bands playing at a poutine place, I was like, Tom, why don't they have the Lehigh Valley's preeminent Canadian indie rocker
Seems like an
in
obvious.
the poutine
Yeah.
place? Tom was like, he was like, who is that? I was like, it's you, Tom. I was like, what do you think? So I don't know. He must have connected with him somehow, because then he was like, yeah, we're playing at the poutineery with some of our friends. Trickery, that's like one of the bands that we met through the library. I invited him to play at one of the first 11 fests, and we really got along well. We love like a rock band with like a ukulele as their main instrument is just like cool. And Rachel's got a cool voice, and I've gotten to know Brent and Daryl and Mark. Mark actually played drums with us at a show where Sam was out of the country. And then Pretty Lousy, which is Justin Pisano's solo acoustic. Justin is like, he does a lot of he actually does a lot of comedy in the area. He does a lot of improv, and he works at the Lehigh Valley Apparel Creations. He's one of the ink what do they call them, squeegee pushers over there. And he's got really cool like awesome. Yeah, there's Daryl. He's the guitarist from Trickery. What was I saying? Yeah. Oh, Justin. His band's called Pretty Lousy, but it's just him. But they're like super sad. Like, I don't think that's like an insult. I love it. It's like heartbreaking. Solo acoustic guitar, like emo songs, like solo. Not that I love that term either. Yeah. But anyway, he's like, I really like his stuff. And so the three of us are playing at the poutine place, and it's like our record release awesome. Show, which is kind of like big, go ahead. Yeah. We keep joking that our second album is going to come out before our first, but it's because the first album took a super long time. And yeah, we recorded it in like a bunch of different pieces, different places. Some of it's at the studio, some of it we did at our buddy Glenn's place, Cabin Lance, and some of it Tom did in his apartment. He did some of the vocals there. Then we did some overdubs, different stuff, and had different people mix it, and it just took a really long time. So, but it's done. And then we've been working on our second album too. So that's been like a little more of a controlled environment, because we've actually been doing that at the community music school in Allentown. My buddy Joe Wagner, who's a fantastic jazz guitarist and rock guitar. He's just a genius. He's like a guitar virtuoso, and he's also he runs that studio at the community music school, which is mostly for like kids. It's like an Allentown School District affiliated music enrichment school, but they got this big grant to like turn this building into a really functioning recording studio. And similar to like when Tom helped me set up Studio 11, Joe was like, I really want a band just to help me like run through this. He's like, because it might take me like an hour to figure out how to get the mic on, and I don't want to be charging someone when they do it. So he's like, if you guys want like free recording time and don't mind me like figuring out shit as we go, then you can come record in the music school. And we were like, heck yeah, that's perfect. And he's like a brilliant engineer, and that studio is nuts. I mean, it's like just
I didn't even heard of that one.
It's
That's
just
cool.
Phenomenal.
So is that how? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's right in here.
No, is that how Studio 11 came, or like is that where the idea came from, or is that something you had been doing previously?
Yeah, that was first. Studio 11 was first. The story about Studio 11 is that I was doing a lot of work through the library with some professors at Lehigh. They had this like organization called the Southside Initiative. Even though we do have a library branch on the South Side, but the Southside Initiative really was like, it started as the goal of these Lehigh professors to like do good in the wider Bethlehem community, because they're like, we on top of this mountain
looking
with a $1 billion endowment, and our city has like our city has some real needs that are not being met. So like, what can we do to kind of like get out of our ivory towers and like help do cool projects in the community? So they were like really forward thinking, really excellent people in the Lehigh faculty, Seth Moglen and Mary Foltz and a couple others. So Mary said to me, Dr. Fultz, she's an English professor. I would see her at these different events and stuff, and we were on different committees together and stuff. And then I saw her, and she said to me, like, "Are you still thinking about putting a recording studio at the library?" I had no recollection of ever mentioning it to her. Like, I was like, that sounds like me, but I don't remember it because, like, I don't know. I have like an ADD brain. Like, sometimes I have like just stuff comes in and goes out, and then I forgot what it was. But I must have read about it somewhere, and I must have run into her and mentioned it because I thought it was cool. Because a couple of libraries in the country do have it. That's like, I mean, there was I read about one in Chicago that was like, and mostly they're in like cities. They're in like Chicago, New York, a couple of cities, like a couple of mid-sized city on the West Coast. But at that point, the one in Chicago was kind of like this big deal because libraries were, of course, going through like, this is going back even like, 10 plus years ago, or, maybe 20 years ago, this one in Chicago started. It really just started as like a media lab for kids. It was called U Media because libraries were like going through a little bit of like a identity crisis, because the internet, like you didn't have to call the library to get a research question. You had all the access to the world's information at home or now in Japan. And so one of the things they were like was like, well, let's build a space for kids to like really learn and embrace multimedia technology. And so they had this media lab, and then it included a recording studio. I don't know why. I must have read it somewhere, mentioned to Mary, forgot. And then she said to me, she's like, because there's that you can apply for that I become aware of that I think this would be a perfect project for. There's like a public humanities grant through the Mellon Foundation. And the Lehigh was administering it or involved with it somehow. So she encouraged us to apply, and we did. And we got like the initial $10,000 through the Mellon grant and through the and the Southside Initiative as a community partner. So, and it worked out. The timing was really convenient because we had just finished renovating the children's room at the library, the basement where the studios we used to do a lot of story times in there, but then we completely renovated the floor. So now there's a whole new story time like section up there that's like only used for that purpose, and it's like in the children's room, so it just makes more sense. So it was kind of like a superfluous meeting room, and it's in the basement. It's like kind of protected from the elements, the sound. Sometimes you hear like police cars and stuff in the basement garage, and sometimes you hear people banging around upstairs. It's not like it's not a soundproof room, but it is a sound like treated room. Like you don't like, it's pretty dead.
Yeah.
We used a lot of books to dampen the sound. Matt Mulchaney from Matt from Shards, who is like player in every cool music thing that I've been a part of, or even just a part of, he's just involved in so many cool things. He was the one who really like set up the studio for us. Initially we hired a guy who was a sound guy at PBS, and he was good, but he moved, and so halfway through the project it was like it was just kind of like the stuff was ordered but not in the room, and I had connected with Matt, and so Matt and April and their dogs would come in and like they screwed all those sound treatments into the walls, and then he was like, I recommend people at home when they're building a studio, if you don't have sound baffling, is just use books. He's like, they're really good diffusers. It's not soundproof, but because they're irregularly shaped and like whatever materials are, like they're not going to reflect sound. So I was like, yeah, we have a lot of books. And we got all those shelves were donated from the Lehigh County Law Library. They happen to be renovating and throwing out shelves. So I'm always, all these library listservs. We're always like scouring for like free stuff that people are giving away. So we got their shelves. We get so many books donated all the time. So we just like can't add them all to our collection. So we just put some of them down there. I always tell people, if you see a book you like down there, just take it. Like, no one cares. We'll get another one. So they're not they're not in the library collection. You don't need a library card. You can just buy it.
Just want to hit up everyone in the chat. If anyone has any questions in the chat, feel free for Josh. Feel free to throw them in there, and we'll get to them too. So thank you for that. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then and then at that point, our initial idea was that it would be a fairly simple recording studio, and that people would just like bring in their own instruments, and we would just provide a simple interface that you record it. But then because of the grant, we were able to get this 32
That's
channel
pretty awesome.
board, and then people just started donating it. It's a really pro board, yeah, the Baron 32, which I honestly still do not know how to use. Like, I don't, I need to troubleshoot it. I suck at it. It's like the people who are good at it, like they're like, I don't know. It's like magic to me. Like I've been and I've tried so many times to learn, but my brain just does not work that way. So, I don't know. I wish it wasn't so, but that's just I suck at that stuff. So, but people have used it to record all sorts of awesome stuff. And then we got a Martin Guitar grant. Martin Guitar has grants specifically to support the music scene in the Lehigh Valley. The Martin Guitar Foundation, which is obviously located right up in Nazareth. So, Martin Guitar Factory. So, we use that money to hire engineers. So, that grant is actually done as of this year. But for last year, we had all these like man hours we could fund through the grant. So not only was the studio free, but the engineer's time was paid by the library. And then people just started bringing in instruments, like really immediately. Like so many people, like I'm sure you know how it is. Like you have a instrument that you have kept forever, and you can't throw it out. You also know it's not worth anything really to sell, but you also can't get rid of it. So people were like so happy to bring it in. So like old guitars, drums, all sorts of crazy pedals.
Dude,
we have like a
that
whole
was
cool
one
little
of the
collection
first
of
places
pedals.
I stopped. I was like, look at all this stuff. It was awesome.
Yeah. And some of those pedals, around my age, like you remember, like those like heavy metal zone, like and like those ones and stuff. Like some of those old pedals bring back memories just looking at it. And people brought in like some drum machines and stuff. It's like a Dr. Groove. I don't know how it works, but like just all sorts of crazy instruments. And then a piano, a bunch of guitars. Nick from Sustained Chapel has donated some of his time to like fix up the guitars. And my buddy Wyatt Aberchinsky, who is a guitar wizard, and he makes his own pedals and does a lot of that sound design stuff. But he's been like, he also donated some of his time to just like fix up the instruments that were donated. We have organ down there,
double bass.
Actually, like we have a stand-up bass. I actually bought with 11 Fest money because that music store in Easton, Twin Rivers. This was like 2 years ago, I guess. They were going, and they had this. They were just liquidating, and they had this stand-up bass. There was like a chunk out of the head, but
who cares?
The headstock or whatever but it's like, so they cut. Exactly. I'm like, this is gonna get beat up down here anyway. But it's cool to have because this is the kind of thing you just wouldn't typically get your hands on. So that we actually bought with 11 Fest money. We'll have to. Hopefully you'll come play 11 Fest.
Spectacular.
It's like 9 months away. Like,
let's hit on that a little. Let's hit on that a bit too. Just really quickly, can you plug your show again coming up? What did you say? It's 25th. Or anything else you want to plug?
Yes, I think we're playing. So I think it's the.
Did I lose you there a little bit? What's up, Tosh? Figure Draws. Thank you for joining. We're going to try to get Josh back on the stream here. He's locked up, frozen. He was just talking about 11 Fest, and Fictional Name has a gig coming up, I believe, on February 25th at the Flying Bee Poutineery in Bethlehem. So if you are in the area, I would definitely consider checking that out. Let's see, he is frozen. So definitely hit that up. And that he had started Studio 11, which is a recording studio in the basement of the Bethlehem Area Public Library, which I have recently visited and recorded some vocals in over my Christmas break, which was great. And he has a festival every year called 11 Fest that raises money for that studio. So hope to be playing that soon too as well. Let me see if I can get him back on the stream. Hold on one second. This is the joy of live streaming. That sometimes doesn't always work, but it makes it interesting. All right. Josh, if you can hear me, you might want to try jumping out and jumping back in. Oh, there he is. Let's try one more time here. Oh, what a bummer. Those basement Wi-Fi vibes. Oh, there he is. Okay. Why don't you try jumping back in, and we'll see if we can get you up in here. All right. He's trying to get back in. We're working on it. Some of the joys of live streaming. So as I'm talking through getting him back in here, just one more time, he plays bass in Fictional name. I think a lot of them are here, so thank you for joining. And let's see if we can get him back in. I went to go see them at the Red Room, which is actually a cool little venue at Muhlenberg College, which I've never been to before. So that was cool. See if we can get him back in. Where are you, Josh? I have to come back. This is your ploy to come back and join us for a second time.
Hey.
Oh, here we go. Hey. All right, so I just plugged you. Yep, no problem. We were the 25th, right? I just want to make sure that's correct for the Poutineery show.
I was like trying to open my calendar, and I think that's why I closed this. So because I don't remember the dates. So
I can also try to look it up too, real quick. Don't worry about that. Yeah, there you go.
Someone from the band can share. That sounds right. It's the Saturday at the end of this month.
There you go. I'm pretty sure
it's the last Saturday of the month. And then we're playing the first Friday in March too.
Yeah, cool. Did you play in the Crayola Gallery? Is that what that is? February 25th. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, right cool. There in the.
We played the. You ever play the glass blowing? Yeah, I
really want to.
It was awesome. It was like a warm summer night, and they had the garage door and like right in the back open, right by the alley there. It was a lot of fun. So, how
long ago was that?
10 years ago, maybe 8 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, I was at some of those, and I had mentioned it recently to some of the folks who work at the band factory, and they were like, they didn't even know what I was talking about. Like it was so long ago that.
All right, Tom says you should also have cassettes of the first album there. So, going back to cassettes.
Yeah, we're making tape.
Yeah. Nice. My car stereo. Tapes. Thank you. What's that?
It'll also be on the internet. It'll also be on the internet.
All right.
And Daryl said 6:30, so that's the time. Yeah. It's BYOB. You can bring some Molson. Is that Canadian beer? I think it is.
Yeah.
It's a very Canadian evening.
Shout out to Canada. Yeah. So I actually have a question for you too. You don't strike me as a person who ever suffers from stage fright or has been like, I don't know, or like get nervous, with people, performing in front of a crowd. Has that always been the case, or is that something you had to work on?
That's a good question. I feel like I do get nervous for sure. Like I feel like once I'm up there, I kind of just dive in and go for it. In advance, I do get a little nervous. I've done it a lot over the years. I've also done a ton of like public speaking through my like work as an author. I speak a lot
cool.
at middle school
The
assemblies.
toughest
So like
crowd.
if you have to speak to like the toughest crowd, if you speak like 500 seventh graders, then like whatever kind of like gig I'm playing is not that scary. So, and that's just me. That's just me up there with a mic for like an hour. And yeah, but I don't know. The funny thing about playing music is like I never thought I'd be good at it at all. And I always, when I'm on stage, I'm kind of more like I can't like it's just so fun. Like I feel like I'm at fantasy camp or something. Like because I'm just someone who's always just been a fan of bands and stuff. And then now I'm like, I've been doing it for how long, but it still feels like a surprise that like somehow someone let me be part of it. And like, so I feel like what I'm trying to say, I don't get nervous, but it's not because I think I'm great. It's because like I just am like so happy to be part of it that like just being there is already like a win for me. And I'm like, if I can contribute something to the songs, and if I can like engage with the audience in a fun way, or if I can like write something that people like it just all feels like I'm just like so psyched that it is happening, that I think that in a way that kind of like counteracts stage fright, because I'm like, if it goes bad, I'm just like, I kind of thought I was going to. Like I don't have super high expectations myself, so I'm like, when it goes well, I'm
Canada
so
going
pumped.
wild in the chat. I'd like to see that. And Daryl said he's going to dress up like a bear. So you guys should definitely come see the show on that one.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. That is fun. Yeah, for sure. And the one at the first Friday. Oh yeah, Tom says that first Friday one we're like first Friday we're playing a bunch of covers. Tom says like, yeah, like when I get nervous in advance, you can tell because I put like I make binders for everybody, because I'm very often extremely disorganized and like extremely non-prepared. We were playing a show, and like right before the song started, I asked Tom like what chords are in it. Like we're about to start it, and Tom was like, "You're asking me now?" And I was like, "Any later would be too late." Like I guess. But like any earlier would have been better. Like we're about to start it. But sometimes I just get like when my brain works, I just like forget to like prepare. And then sometimes I get like super organized. Like I get like I like color code stuff, and it's just like depends on how my brain is feeling
it's
that day.
It's a productive
we play
nervousness, It's not
Sometimes it is, yeah. Because sometimes I'm nervous, but I do nothing about it. Like sometimes, like if I'm giving a speech or something, I'll be worried about it for like I won't spend any of that time preparing until like right before, and then I'll just like friend.
Like
I'm like, why do I don't know. That's just like,
well, for me anyway,
not super functional. Yeah. I know, but sometimes I don't know. Sometimes you need the adrenaline, I guess, to kick you in the pants to get you.
Yeah, it was some
doing it. We played.
Yeah, I caught you there twice. Yeah.
We played there twice. The one time was over winter break where there was no one there, and then the next time, you were there.
That was cool.
That was a super fun night, actually. But then the second time, the students were back in session, and some of Tom's students and just people he knows from college. There was like a lot of people there. It was a whole different vibe. So I was like, I was like back there talking to Sam. We were both like, oh, I got a little nervous. Like, there's like
an audience.
There's a lot of people out there. So there's an audience. It felt like a little nerve-wracking, but I don't know. Then once you get sort of locked in, and I definitely did screw up a couple times. I definitely did forget like some of the changes, but I'm just like, that's part of it. And we're all humans, and we're all just like, I'm like, I prepared. Like it's like I wasn't prepared, but it was kind of more like I was like overly excited, and I just like went into the chorus too fast. I'm like, that's just rock and roll, right? Like if you know exactly what you're gonna get,
why bother
every time? Then like I feel like exactly. That's like you're watching a I don't know, a play. Not that there's something wrong with it, but like I don't want to just memorize something and do it rote over and over and over again. Like I like the spontaneity of it, and and we do improvise a lot on stage. Like we do we do have sections of the songs where we're just like,
That's cool.
make something up
Yeah.
here,
Does
we'll
that
just sort
come?
of leave it in.
Yeah. Does that
Yeah. And
come
Sam
from
always,
trying to fill time, or does that just come like that's something you're interested in as a band? And
yeah, we're just, I think we're just interested in it. And Brian, who plays guitar, he definitely like, he definitely is like, he
yeah.
likes a lot of improvisational music. What's that band he likes? Like some sort of some
Oh,
Norwegian
okay.
space orchestra or something. Like where all their sets are, everything they do is improvised. And he likes Fish. Like he's like brought us
Mm-hmm.
into
Mm-hmm.
like jam band mode sometimes, and it's just to me like creating
Mm-hmm.
is like the greatest thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's like what makes me happy as a person. Whether I'm like building something at the library or writing a book or writing a song, and so like when I am just performing something that's oh yeah, the Orison
Cool.
Space Collective. That's check them out. They're awesome. We actually played them. We didn't cover them, but
Oh,
we
nice.
played them over the PA at the Norman Muhlenberg show. And but like since I love like I think we all do. Like we love the creativity. I know that's like Tom's like that too, and I know Brian and Sam are like that too. That like the feeling of creating something just gives you a, I don't know,
Absolutely.
dopamine boost or
Yeah.
whatever it is in your brain
You
happening. That like
touched on a point.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Whereas like memorizing something and preparing it, like it's good. Like I'm glad that we like have songs nailed down that we can
Mm-hmm.
perform accurately and that they sound good. But I love the feeling of creating. And so to create something like live in front of an audience where you don't know exactly where it's going is like it's pretty thrilling. It's like pretty fun. And when it locks in or when it just goes in some weird unexpected place, it's
I
just a
feel like
cool
you have to be
feeling.
ready to accept that it might fall flat on its face, and once you get over that fear of like, yeah, that it might be, but you can kind of push through it, and yeah, exactly what you're saying. Find some really interesting things, and that's what's always great about. It's always a surprise when you get like with a band for sure, but even just random people together, like they'll push you or stretch you in ways that you would never ever think to do yourself. So super cool. Mike,
At the one
yeah.
Banana Factory show, like some kid from the audience came up and
So you
wanted to
let him?
play. So we became his
Oh, really?
and at some point, yeah, just like he was like a charter arts kid who like wanted to perform some song. We were like, oh, okay. So we just tried to
On the
learn them as
fly.
he was there. And also like my buddy
Oh,
Doug
yeah, yeah,
Dame, who's a
yeah.
Banana Factory artist and also a really good bass player. Doug was like sitting in with us, and then it's like we already had like 3 guitars and a bass and a drummer and a vocalist. So I was like, there's really nothing for me to do at all, which is
Oh, yeah,
fine. Oh yeah, that kid's name was
cool.
Izzy. So I just went over and like I just got drumsticks and I just like stood next to
Yeah.
Sam and I played the drums with him. So we improvised the song in like a totally weird way with just like instrument on the fly. And I don't know, I love that kind of stuff. I love just like making up weird
Me
stuff
too.
as we
And you
go
brought
and
this up
seeing where it takes us.
twice
So.
already now. It's always about listening and not about like putting what you necessarily want to throw all over it out there. It's more like what's going on and how can I add to it and give it a different dimension. Yeah,
Yeah,
not take over.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I feel like that's like definitely one of the different like that for me that I found like as someone who's been doing it for a long time now. Like I was saying to Tom, like that's even like I think when I was younger I wouldn't have been a bass player because I wanted like
give me
I wanted
the weeds,
the
baby.
spotlight,
Yeah.
I wanted the like guitar, yeah. And now I can just like
Mm-hmm.
be useful and know in my heart that I'm helping make something cool, and I don't care if like, you know, I don't care if like I'm getting the leads. I don't care if I'm like if people are coming up to me afterwards and asking me about my gear. I wouldn't know the answer anyway.
Yeah, we steered clear of
So,
that tonight. Yeah.
but yeah, I'm like it's something that it's something that comes with. I don't know. I was gonna say, but the other people in this band are also like that. Like there's just like a spirit of like generosity among these. I don't know. I mean, we all met like in a public recording studio in the basement of the library. So
Yeah.
like maybe there's something to that. They weren't like, they didn't have huge egos coming in, but they just wanted to be part of something, and it's just been like a cool experience.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, listen, that takes us to about an hour already. Why don't you plug everything you want to plug one more time, and then we can wrap it up for this time. But we should definitely set this up again because there's a whole lot more to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. Always. I mean, if there's any musicians out there who haven't come to the library to see the studio, I'll always plug the Studio 11 at the Bethel Area Public Library. Fictional Name has an album coming out. This Playing with Trickery and Pretty Lousy at the Flying V Poutineery on February 25th at 6:30, and then we're playing the first Friday at the Banana Factory. That we're doing like a bunch of covers. We're doing like they have like a 90s theme the night, so we've been like learning all sorts of like 90s hits. I was never. It's fun. It's like fun to try to. I'm actually playing guitar in some of those songs too, so I'm learning new songs. And our friend Allison, who's here, she's like singing for some of those, for a bunch of those songs. So yeah, but and we have like Fictional Names online that we have a band camp, and if you go to YouTube and type in Fictional Name Band, it comes up. So I feel like it's easier just to tell people what to search and find some URL.
All right, so well, thank you, Josh. Next week is going to be punk rock extraordinaire. Spike Polite from Sewage is going to be in from New York City. I saw Mike from Stillcraft in the chat. We're going to get them on in a couple weeks. And we got a couple little, thank you for all the chats going on today too, and for everyone for joining us. And of course, Josh for jumping in here with me. And let's schedule another time and keep it going because that was way too quick. And have a great night. And thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night,
Thank you.
guys.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.